Hey guys, welcome into the Stinkin Truth Podcast. Mark Schlereth here with my partner, Mike Evans. Week 2, and we're gonna go at the moneymaker picks. You did not bode well. I kicked your ass. Ass whooping, which is great. Undefeated, by the way. If you want to make money, follow me. Or if you want to make money, follow Mike. Just go the opposite of Mike. Either way, it works.
Hey, listen, I'm one that believes in the idea that the first week is simply an extension of the preseason.
Okay, is that what you believe?
And that we really don't get rolling until week 2. So
that's like when a coach comes out and says, hey, we want to start fast. Hey, no shit, you want to start fast? Like, what? I've never heard one coach in all my time playing going, here's what we're going to do. We're going to lull these guys to sleep. We're going to play. We're going to take some time off. We're going to really go slow, a lot of 3 and outs early, and then, boom, we're going to strike in the third quarter. Come on. Of course.
Yeah. It's called the garbage game plan. We're going to come out playing like garbage.
Okay, good. Anyhow, welcome. Thank you guys so much for being a part of it. A big day as we pick games and we get you set for Sunday's action. And we talk about these matchups. But, Mike, how are you, buddy?
I'm great. I'm looking forward to week 2. And do you, by the way, before we get into some specific games, do you buy into the idea that maybe some of these results that we saw in week 1, you got to kind of look at with a bit of an asterisk? Mm-hmm. You know, when you see the Giants losing the way they did, or the Bengals losing the way they did, do you buy the idea that, hey, maybe that's something that you just put in the week 1 category? It's not a sign of what it's going to be like moving forward.
Yeah, no, I think there's merit to that. I think there's a couple things that happen to you during preseason. The way we play preseason, one, a lot of guys don't play, so you're not in quote unquote game shape because you haven't played enough game football to be in that kind of quote-unquote game shape. So that's one thing. The other thing is everybody plays it pretty vanilla. So it's mano a mano. Is my guy better than your guy? That's kind of how preseason works. In the regular season, it's about scheme. It's not just calling individual plays. Now it's calling an offense. It's calling a defense. It's about how we scheme against you. And the other thing is the unscouted looks on both sides of the ball. So you start to give a team a bunch of unscouted looks, things they're not prepared for. There's lack of communication. Next thing you know, you give up big plays. And I think a lot can be said about that. So it is one of those things where you play really poorly week 1. It does not define your season yet. It could, but it doesn't define it yet. But it does put you on the radar. I'll tell you the other thing. You play really well week 1, and sometimes teams go, oh, man, we've Dallas, be on upset alert. You played really well in week 1. Be on upset alert.
Really? So you think they should be on upset alert against Zach Wilson and the Jets?
Well, maybe not so much Zach Wilson and the Jets, but you should be really honed in. Now, the Jets, unbelievable defense. And let me tell you
Dallas has an unbelievable defense.
Yeah, and when the Jets win, there's not one housewife safe. Not one mom safe when the Jets win because Zach Wilson, Howard, Cougar chaser.
That is part of his. That is his
part of his MO.
That's part of his MO. That's part of his charm.
Okay.
What about the Jets? Dallas and the Jets was going into last Monday night was looked upon as the real highlight premium game of week 2. I guess maybe in some respects it still is a fascinating game because now we're wondering how will the Jets look without Aaron Rodgers, and were the Cowboys truly that dominant in beating the Giants the way that they did?
Yeah, I think, and we'll get in this because I have the Giants this weekend, right? I have the Giants, so I think the biggest thing, focusing on the Jets, the Jets, like I said, I picked them to win the AFC East. I think I might have picked them. I like to pick different things depending on what platform I'm on. That way you can never be wrong. Because somewhere you had the right thing.
Somewhere. You picked the Jets.
I want to say we did on this. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl on the AFC.
Maybe.
I'm going to change that now. I'm going to amend.
Well, you're allowed to. You're allowed to.
After Aaron Rodgers.
This was earth-shattering enough. Yeah.
But that was a devastating blow. You went from being a Super Bowl contender to not being a Super Bowl contender. That's what a difference is. Even if you find a way into the playoffs, you're not a contender, right? You're just not. In that defense has a chance to be. They were a number 4 defense last year without any real offensive firepower. So what are they going to be this year? I think they'll be a little bit better. But, I mean, come on, the one touchdown they threw, the back shoulder fade, was 4 yards on the front shoulder. It was just Garrett Wilson making one of the most spectacular catches you've ever seen. So, yeah, they've got some issues.
So do you still believe this is a playoff team?
The Jets?
The Jets.
If they are, they sneak in at 9-8. And I don't think offensively they're going to make enough strides to be a playoff team. Unfortunately,
you've said some things about Dallas so far this preseason,
sure,
that have gotten Cowboy fans mad. Did their performance change your mind at all?
No, they're still big hat, no cattle. That's what they are. Hey, they were great. Hey, if they can count on getting a blocked field goal for a touchdown, interception, or a fumble return for a touchdown, and every team to just roll over and play horrible football, then yeah. And they had a lot to do with that. Don't get me wrong. The Dallas Cowboys are really good. They're really good. There's no question. Do I think they're going to take a dump in their helmets? Yeah, I do. To come playoff time, yeah. But they'll win a lot of regular season games. They're going to be one of the regular season champs.
Now, folks, as much as Mark likes to say and talk junk about the Cowboys, one team he will never, ever, ever talk junk about are the San Francisco 49ers, because he loves himself some Shanahans. They're playing the Rams after really what I think was the best performance of Week 1. Dallas's performance was awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I think San Francisco, because I think more highly of Pittsburgh. Maybe it's my mistake. I think more highly of Pittsburgh than I do the Giants. Mm-hmm. But San Francisco's performance was impressive, and now they get the Rams.
Yeah, it was impressive, and one of the features of Kansas City, of San Francisco. And I think, I don't know, Mike, I don't know statistically where they would rank, but I would guarantee you, as we sit here right now, having never looked at it, and you can look at it at home and, send me a comment if I'm wrong or if I'm an idiot, but I would assume that they were a top 5 team in explosive plays. Explosive plays usually defined as a 10-plus yard run. Some teams qualify them as 12-plus yard runs, and then 17-plus yard passes. Some teams go as far as 20-yard plus passes. So I would assume that San Francisco is a top 5 team in the league with 3 different quarterbacks started last year, which is absolutely insane. But they create a lot of those big passes in the play-action game because they know how to run the football. In a day and age where right now you look at the trend in the National Football League, and it really is a Fangio trend, if you will, the Fangio trend. And the Fangio trend is that you're going to play some type of shell defense, right? A middle of the field open, too high safety look, and essentially you're going to keep the ball trapped in front of you, and you're going to make a team go 8, 9, 10, 12 plays to score. And at some point, you're going to make a play. You're going to get them behind the chains. You're going to do something that's going to keep them out of scoring opportunities where you're giving up field goals or you're creating punts. And that's kind of that's the Fangio trend, and everybody will do it. Now, in my day, you know how you got a team that wanted to play you in 2 high safeties? You beat the shit out of them. You ran the ball, and you get them to play 3 down, or you could play middle of the field close, right? You get them to play a safety down, 8-man boxes. So you get those one-on-one matchups on the outside. That's how you do it in today's game because, we're all about fantasy football. And if we don't get Johnny his fantasy points, he's going to complain to our PR department. Right? And so, anyhow, teams don't know how to run the ball. They think they know how to run the ball. They don't know how to run the ball. I was asked to consult for a team. This is a year or two ago. And head coach wanted me to come in and consult the running game. So I said, okay, yeah, I'll come in and we can talk about it. And he goes, hey, man, we sit down in a meeting like this, right? I really want to get good at running the ball. I want to focus on the outside zone. And I said, do you? And he goes, yeah, that's why I brought you in here. I want to focus, on running the ball. I want to run the ball a lot better this year. And so that's why I brought you in. I really focus. We really want to run the ball better. And I said, do you? And he looks at me like, yeah, that's why we brought you in. I want to run the ball better. And I said, but do you? And he goes, yeah, what? Like,
Boy,
what?
at this point, he is really second guessing inviting you.
Right. He goes, what? Like what? And I go, let me tell you why I hate you.
Oh, wow, this is going really well.
Or what I hate about you is how I phrase it. Let me tell you what I hate about you. And he goes, oh, great, this should be good. I go, why is it that you run it 3 times at 2 yards of carry, and you'll throw your hands in the air and go, well, we can't run it. But you'll throw 7 straight incompletions with your crappy quarterback and not think twice about it. I go, it's a philosophy and a psychology issue that you're having. Not we don't know how to run the ball. You don't want to run the ball. You don't want to be physical. You want to be fancy. There's a big difference. It's like that cat food. You're going to go kibbles or you're going to go fancy feast, right? You guys are a bunch of fancy feast pansies is what you are. And until you start to learn how to do those things, you'll be that. Now, there's a reason San Francisco wins with whatever quarterback they put out there, because they're going to dominate you up front. They're going to make you play what they want you to play, which is a single high safety, which you can only play cover 1 or cover 3 out of. And cover 1 and cover 3 are exactly the same on vertical releases because you got to play man. So now you can attack the seams, you can attack all go special, you can the things you want to attack down the field, you can attack them. Now you flag out play action, that safety, and then right by him.
So to support your
right by him.
To support your argument.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Focus.
Okay. All right. I felt like I was channeling my inner Jonathan Gannon, right? Zoom, 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 zoom. Right by him.
To support your argument.
Okay.
And this is fact. Deep shots, deep pass attempts.
Shot. Yeah.
Are defined as 15 air yards or more.
Okay. Old air yard.
So attempted passes, deep shots, were the lowest in the NFL last year since 2006.
Yeah.
Dan Orlovsky, one of your compatriots there when you were at ESPN, said that what's happening, and you talked about it with the Fangio effect, is that teams are saying, look, and it started with Patrick Mahomes, we are not going to let this guy beat us deep. So effectively what they're saying is that we're going to turn these home run hitting quarterbacks and make them hit singles.
Yes.
So is that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
it's a great.
Whether it's the Fangio effect and the numbers to back it up, we're not seeing as many deep balls being thrown.
Correct. And all you have to go is week 1 right here against the Raiders, where the Broncos only got 6 attempts, or six possessions, but. The Raiders played a very soft shell coverage versus any zebra package or 3 wide package, that like 11 personnel, 1 tight end, 1 back, and 3 wides, and they played essentially a soft shell coverage the whole time, and made Russell Wilson check the ball down, get it out of his hands. And so, there's a couple things you can design some shots in doing that, but there's 2 things that have to happen. One, on those underneath routes, you got to have somebody break a tackle. You got to have somebody that is athletic enough to break a tackle and make something happen. And then that's 1. And then 2, you got to run them out of it. And you got to you've got to go, okay, you guys want to play that? We're going to bludgeon you. Bludgeon you. All of a sudden, little safety comes dribbling down from 12 yards, and you put somebody's Rydell on them, a freaking guard, whatever it is. So, that's what has to happen.
So basically, what you're saying is Vic Fangio, smartly, and other teams have adopted it, is that part of our defensive strategy is we're going to use offensive play callers' stubbornness against them.
Sure. Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. Stubbornness, stupidity,
ego,
whatever the
we're going to win.
Superlative, whatever superlative you want to throw in there. Again, it's guys, they don't want to win that way, because that way, let's face it, and I've said this a million times, I've probably said it on this podcast, let's face it, you know what is like Viagra to 80-year-old owners? An offensive coordinator that throws it all over and develops a young quarterback. Like, oh my God, this guy's got so many yards, and this guy did this, and this guy did that, and that, instant head coach, bam. That's what it works. That's what that is. Like I said, that is the little blue pill.
So speaking of speaking of Kansas City, Chiefs coming off a loss, got surprised at home opening night. Now they're on the road at Jacksonville. Intriguing game because you got to figure Kansas City's going to bounce back because they're the Chiefs. But yet Jacksonville is kind of a sleeper pick for a lot of people as being a team that could end up in the AFC Championship game. Yeah, if they are AFC Championship worthy, I guess you make a statement this week against the Chiefs at home, right?
You need to. You need to. You need to. But you do tend to feel like the Chiefs are going to bounce back. One, remember, they only gave up 14 points as a defense to the Lions. They scored one on a pick six off of the hands of Kadarius Toney. Hands made of feet. I mean, that was terrible. And they get Chris Jones back because he signed. Like that's a defense with a lot of young players that actually played really well against a very good Detroit offense and a dominant front offensive line. And they only gave up 14 points, and they're going to get one of the best players, the top 3 defensive linemen in the National Football League back in Chris Jones. So that's big. And I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think they'll probably get Travis Kelce back. Right?
Practicing this week.
He's practicing this week. If they get Travis Kelce back controlling the middle of the football field, I mean, that seems to bode well for the Kansas City Chiefs. By the way, did you hear the news?
No, what news?
About Travis?
Oh, that news. Go ahead. Share it.
So Travis Kelce, what's her name? What's it? Just
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
What's her name?
Yeah. Oh, what's her name? So Taylor Swift
comes up to date on pop culture.
Well, so Taylor Swift comes to Kansas City to do a concert. And apparently Travis Kelce makes her a friendship bracelet with his number on it. Very smooth. To try to it's like when you were in grade school and they said, you sent a note to the prettiest girl in school that said, "Will you go with me? Check yes or check no." My box always had the yes check, yours most of the time no. But he sends her this bracelet, Mike, this "will you go with me" bracelet, or tries to get it to her. And her people basically say that Taylor Swift is not that into you, right? That she does not do, pre-concert meet and greets and all this. So Travis Kelce got shut down. So now you pick up the story. What happened?
Well, and I'm going with actually a very recent report. A source tells Entertainment Tonight, where I go for all my entertainment news.
Sure.
That Kelce and Swift are, quote, not officially dating.
But they're hanging out.
But they are, however, hanging out. Both reps for both people say they are, however, hanging out.
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute. Hanging out doesn't mean dating.
Oh, in today's world, hanging out?
When you look at me like that.
Ooh, when your kid says, "Oh, I'm just hanging out with her," then... or she says, "I'm just hanging out with him," is even worse. Yeah, the hangout thing is that's the code for it's about to go down. It's about to go down.
Okay.
So what do you think? What do you think with
Well, I think it's awesome because I am rooting for these two kids.
Yeah.
Because
you're rooting for them?
I'm rooting for them just because I know it's not going to last. And so when they break up,
oh my gosh.
Can you imagine the songs?
Yes.
The album? There's going to be a whole album, a whole Taylor Swift album.
Yes.
With songs about Travis Kelce.
There's no question that moron's going to screw this up, right? There's no question.
Right?
He can't. Yeah, I can picture the title of the album. Okay, think about this right here. It'll be like this. It'll be Tight End, Loose Morals. that'll be the yeah.
I mean, there's nothing better than a breakup album.
Oh my gosh.
Or she's gonna Lover Scorned album.
Right. She's gonna eviscerate him.
And her coming up with one?
He had a tight end, but he had loose morals. Right?
New single's gonna drop here.
Boom.
All right.
Hey, Taylor Swift, you're welcome. You're welcome. I know she listens to the podcast.
Yes, you know she's a big fan.
Yeah, big fan of the
Stinkin Truth Podcast.
I cannot wait till Travis Kelce screws this thing up.
Jacksonville showed pretty well against the Chiefs in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
So when you look at Jacksonville, what do you think's holding them back from being able to really confidently talk about them as a AFC threat?
Well, they won a playoff game last year. I think they are a AFC
They're
threat
here right now.
Right. I think they truly are. I think their quarterback is a dynamic young guy. They've got really good players. I love Doug Peterson. I think he's great. I think he did an unbelievable job not only with the franchise last year, but I thought he did an unbelievable job with his quarterback, especially after the first year, where that first year was a wash under Urban Meyer. It was just awful. So to get him back in on pace, and then they went out and got Calvin Ridley after his suspension. Calvin is a real. I think that was one component of their offense that when I watched him, I did a Jacksonville game like week 6 last year. The one component of their offense to me was they don't really have a guy as a receiver that's that dynamic, oh shoot type of guy. It was like, how are we going to? It was like you're going to have to execute, because all these guys to me were kind of classic number 2, more possession guys than anything else. So I think that gives you kind of a threat to be a big play guy.
Well, right away, great connection between Lawrence and Ridley. 8 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown last week. So we got Kansas City and Jacksonville. Buffalo and the Raiders. We saw the Raiders up here in Denver. Impressive performance by them, eking out a 17-16 win. But Buffalo, what's going on with Buffalo? Specifically, what's going on with Josh Allen, who has just been a turnover machine going back to the end of last year and picked up again on Monday night against the Jets.
Right. Yeah, I think at one point he had more completions to the Jets than he did to the Bills. I mean, it was ridiculous. Listen, I told you this before the season starts, and one game does not a season make, but I told you that I had concerns about Buffalo, that I had concerns about the regression. And one of the things, remember when Josh first got in the league, Mike, he was much more a running quarterback than he was a throwing quarterback. And people even after 2 years were concerned, like he's completing 52% of his passes and, he's running the ball too much and all this, that, and the other. I get concerned with their propensity just to be a spread offense. It's almost like they just want to be like this college type of offense, and they want to they want to beat you that way. I think, who's the coordinator? Is it Ken Dorsey's the coordinator? It just feels to me that they can't condense formations and just basically out-physical you on the offensive side of the ball. They want to out-finesse you on everything. And it's only a matter of time before something happens and Stephon Diggs is pissed off again. And, that where there's smoke, there's fire. There was something that went down. And I told you this before the start of this season. Well, it's why one of the reasons I picked the Jets to win this division. They feel like they're crumbling a little bit within, to me. And I don't have any inside information. I don't know. But the turnovers, the issues they had in the red zone last year, turning the ball over, the fact that you are just throwing it up for grabs against the Jets, that you're not. I've got an issue with the way they're playing the game right now.
Is Josh Allen maybe the poster child for what we were just talking about earlier in this podcast about this Vic Fangio style defense and how the air yard attempts are going down? Because if you go back to Monday night, I think at one point all of his attempts over 15 yards have been picked off.
Yeah.
And maybe this is a case where the big arm of Josh Allen just isn't fitting with the way the teams are defending these days, and maybe he has to, and the Bills have to, adjust what they do.
Well, they throw a lot of underneath stuff. Stephon Diggs is there. You've got guys like Gabriel Davis. They've got Knox, the tight end. They have got great weapons. So you're going to have to get to the point where, you're like, okay, let's take what the defense gives us. I think you get when you have that much talent, you get a little frustrated doing that. And I would like to see them mix in a little bit more power run, a little bit more multiple tight end formations. That's because I'm old, and I know I'm going to get a bunch of people on here that are young and play fantasy football that are going to argue with me, and you people are idiots.
Tampa Bay and Chicago. This was expected to be a big breakout season for Justin Fields. You got a lot of Justin Fields believers out there, but how should those believers feel after week one? One of the moneymaker picks, we went head-to-head on this one. I liked Chicago last week.
Yeah, you did.
Shame on me.
Right.
Justin Fields and the Bears let me down. Is this Is this a sign of more serious things to come for Bears fans?
I think one of the things you try to do as a coordinator, Mike, is you try to take these really exceptional athletes that play quarterback and eventually you try to morph them into drop back guys. And I think that's what's going on in Baltimore. I think there's a lot of that. I think we saw some of that transition in Philly last year. But there was still plenty of quarterback run, quarterback, RPO game. There's plenty of that stuff mixed in as you were starting that transition. And ultimately, why do teams do that? Because teams don't really look at that model as sustainable and championship caliber. They really don't see the confetti fall. In their mind, they don't see that as being confetti worthy. Like they're not going to win a championship doing that way. We're going to have to rely and develop more on the protection of the pocket. And I think what ends up happening is at some point you have to embrace that that's a very slow process. And you don't make that process in one off season. And you can gain in that and you can do some things in that. But I think that's one of the things you have to get back to. I mean, they had the big free agent acquisition in DJ Moore. I don't remember if they traded for DJ but Moore can that guy can flat out play. And I think he had maybe 2 targets last week. I mean, it was like he was non-existent. You're going to have to find a way in the context of, hey, Justin Fields running with the ball, Justin Fields in the RPO game, Justin Fields on the boot keep game, eliminating half the field. I think you have to get back to that because that's the strength of what he does. And in that, you'll find opportunities to be more drop back, but don't limit yourself because that's not what he's best at.
Let's get to the game you're calling. Giants, Arizona. What would be your message to Giant fans who are probably freaking after the way that they got beat like a drum by Dallas? You've had a chance to dive deep into the film.
Yeah.
Was it as bad as it looked?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't as bad. The first drive, the Giants dominated the first drive of the game. I mean, I think the first play of the game was a power play out of split back. And, the tight end came and followed the guard. It was a 17 power, a great double team between Thomas and it's Bredesen. Bredesen, I think, is the left guard, but I'll know that by Sunday. But anyhow, great double team off to the back. I mean, it was like a 6-7 yard gain, and then they came back 2 plays later, and they ran a 14 handoff sift. A tight end motions across, and he comes back across, and 14 handoff, and there's a little bend back to it, and that was like a 9 yard play. Great by the center and by the right guard, Glowinski. Like, great double team. I mean, they're dominating the line of scrimmage. They drive it all the way down the football field, and it's a dominant drive, and then they jump off sides on a quick set by Andrew Thomas. So now they go from 3rd and 2 to 3rd and 7. And then they have a botched snap, and Daniel Jones got to chase it back, and then a block field goal for a touchdown the other way. And, the next thing you know, it's history. They get back on the field. They put another drive together. Eventually, you look up on the clock, and you're down 16-0. And you're like, how did this happen to us? And what ends up happening to you, Mike, is now all of a sudden, you're in that mode where, well, we got to scrap pile everything we were going to do. Now, there's no offensive line in the league that can be successful when you're going to throw it almost every down. Like everybody, and especially against the front that Dallas has. I mean, they rotate. Odighizuwa is a great player. They've got Lawrence is a great player. Obviously, Micah Parsons is a great player. I'll tell you the other thing that happened, and this goes back to what you talked about the first game of the season. We used to just call them bastard looks. When you get shady, like dirty looks, let's call them dirty looks. Let's not use that word. That's a bad word. Let's call them dirty or muddy.
Yes, because we know you try to avoid bad words on this show.
Yes, muddy looks. So one of the things that happens is you got to be on the same page. You have to have played together. You have to see a lot of things, right? And when all of a sudden a team gives you these unscouted, muddy looks. So, for instance, you're trying to decide, hey, are they in a 3 down front or 4 down front? It changes our rules, how we block guys. Or is this guy in a 4 technique or a 4-eye technique? Do you know the difference between a 4 technique and a 4-eye technique?
No.
Okay. So a 4 technique would be played by a 3-4 team, your head up on the offensive tackle. A 4-eye technique is when you're inside shade, just slightly inside shade of an offensive tackle. But a 4 technique or a 4-eye technique is usually the 3 technique guy, which the defensive tackle slides out wider. Why does he do that? Maybe you're pushing the outside envelope on the run play, right? And so he wants a little bit more width. Maybe it is that you're going to pass. It's a known passing situation. We want to run a tackle end game. Maybe he's out there because you knows you've got to kick out to him, and he's going to get softer edges on both sides. So it's a pass rushing technique. But if I look at it as a guard and say, oh, I think that's a 4, and you as a tackle go, oh, no, that's a 4-eye. My guard's coming to me, and you don't communicate that, and all of a sudden ball snapped, and you set, and you're like, oh, shoot, right? You're like, that's what happens. And when you watch that game, there were so many mental errors and so many alignment issues that they had with Dallas. Dallas did a great job of basically getting in all these muddy looks and confusing them. And then the Giants their coaching staff did a bad job with some of their formations that put their players in tough positions. And so that stuff is easily cleaned up. 40-0 is an ass kick, and I get it. But I come away with that and look at a lot of the issues can be cleaned up. Now, their right guard, Mark Glowinski, those two things, this is a note to him in case he listens. I'm sure he does. I mean, I think,
along with Taylor Swift.
Right, I think all offensive linemen, this is mandatory. Okay, this is it. Okay, Mark, those things hanging out of your shoulder pads are called arms. Okay? The things at the end of your arms, those are called hands. Fucking use them. Lord have mercy. You're walking around like a seal, like you don't have any hands. Cripe sakes alive. Excuse my French. Dude, I've never seen, it was like you had double stingers, like you had dead arm. I mean, it was I rewound eight plays going, what are you doing? Like, wait. Did they say you can't use your hands today?
So if a SEAL's playing offensive lineman, it sounds like what?
like I don't know what he was doing, dude. It was like he had dead arms. Okay. So they'll fix that. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They're going to fix that.
All right.
Okay.
You ready for the moneymaker picks? Mercifully.
What was I, 3-0?
You were 3-0.
And you were what?
0-3.
0-3.
Yeah, like I said,
man,
hey,
that is an ass. Okay, here's how the game works, by the way.
Extension of the preseason.
Yeah, if you want to make money, either bet against Mike or go with me. Either way, it's going to work. You're gonna win a lot of money. Here's how it works. Mike now gets to pick first. I pick second. I can't repeat his picks. The only thing I can do is I can go head to head with him on a pick, but I can't repeat his picks. So this is how we play the game. It makes it a little tougher, right? So here you go. You got your picks. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. We're going to start. I did not believe in Green Bay last week.
You were not a believer.
I was not a believer.
Now you're like the monkeys.
I am a believer.
You're a believer.
I am a believer. So I'm
because then you saw their face, and now you're a believer.
I'm going to take Green Bay -1 on the road at Atlanta.
Ooh.
Okay.
Whoa, at Atlanta. Ooh, I don't like that pick.
And then I'm going with the heavy favorites.
Oh, yeah. Now all of a sudden you're a 49er. I saw the error of my ways, even though I hate the Shanahan.
True story. So on our radio show, Mark does a masterful job of taking some of the things I say on air, and then they, through the wizardry of editing, they make it sound like I said I hate Mike Shanahan, which I never said.
He said it.
And
he
so
hates
we're playing
all
this
things
on
Shanahan.
the radio. I hate Mike Shanahan, this and that. All of a sudden, Mark gets a text. And what does it say?
It says, I'm listening. It's from Mike Shanahan.
So I love the Shanahans.
Yes.
Kyle, Mike, Peggy, all of you. So I'm going to go San Francisco -8 at the Rams, and I'm going to take Dallas -9 over Zach Cougar hunting Wilson. So I'm going heavy with the favorites. So there's mine.
My goodness. Okay, right. So there, bet against Mike, win money. Here are the official picks. So I started 3-0, and I'm going to keep that trend. That trend will continue. I'm taking Kansas City. I think they're going to Jacksonville. Giving 3.5.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm going to take the Chiefs on a bounce back after a Thursday night where they win that game if Kadarius Toney's hands aren't made of feet, right? If he just puts some hands on the end.
Or if he was a SEAL receiver.
Right. I mean, Lord have mercy. Talk about batting the ball up. Maybe they switch him to DB. Maybe that's the direction they go. But I like Kansas City, the bounce back win. Chris Jones is back. Travis Kelce is back. I think they win this thing by a touchdown. Okay? So then I'm going to go the battle of the rookies. And I don't know where Anthony Richardson's going to be, but I like Indianapolis as a football team better than I like Houston. I'm taking Indy. Maybe Gardner Minshew will play that game, which actually gives them more of an advantage to operate that offense. I'm taking Indy. I'm giving the one. Okay, so I like that. And then my last game, where's New Orleans at?
They're at Carolina.
At Carolina, rookie quarterback making some mistakes in Carolina. He is a tiny little guy, by the way. On film, he just looks...
Wee little fella?
Like, yes, he does look like a wee fella. Like his name should be Seamus. And selling Lucky Charms, like that wee. Like a wee little guy. So I like New Orleans versus Seamus and the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to go New Orleans and Derek Carr, and I'll give the 3.
Okay. Sounds good.
Oh, are we done?
Bounce back, baby. It's going to be the greatest story ever told.
It will be the greatest story
We're going to look back by week
told.
17. We're going to be laughing that Mark was patting himself on the back after starting 3-0. Ooh, 3-0.
Okay, we'll see.
They give out the Super Bowl trophy after week 1, apparently, in Mark's world.
All I know is the sisters were kinder to Andy Dufresne than I was to you last week.
It was a beatdown.
It was a beatdown. That you can clarify it as a beatdown. Hey, for everybody involved in the Stinkin Truth Podcast, we totally appreciate you guys, as far as you know. We like you guys a ton. Leave some comments. If you're winning money off of my picks or losing money off of Mike's picks, we appreciate you.
Or winning money off Mike's picks. Going the opposite.
Oh, if you're going opposite, yeah, then you could win money off Mike's picks. For everybody involved, thank you so much. We'll be back with you guys next week.